What's up, everybody? This is Frederick Douglass Bussey back with another Monday whiteboard session, minus the whiteboard. It's over there, but we're not going to use it because I'm running behind. Got to make the kids lunch here in a few minutes. And so I just got off a call that ran over a little bit into our daily time. But what we're going to talk about today is this quick hack for scaling your business, being able to build things even bigger. We'll talk about what all that means. And hopefully this will be helpful for you in terms of shifting how you're thinking about your business and what's possible for you this year as you're growing forward. Absolutely. It's Frederick Douglass Bussey. We're going to get started. Let's go to work. All right. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up, one in the comments. Let me know where you're watching this. If it's on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, give us in the Facebook group, 7-Figure Circle, $1 Million Mastermind. Let me know if you're over there as well. I want to talk about scaling. We're going to be doing a lot of more discussions around scaling because it's been a question that I've gotten from a lot of people. If you know about me, I'm the founder of Icon Status, which is a coaching consulting business. We help entrepreneurs scale their business. We're collaboratively helping people build $100 million plus businesses. And the thing that I get over and over again is people really have an understanding of what it means to really scale your business, right? And so scaling means to take it and to grow it, to multiply, expand it exponentially, right? So you want to take it from 6 figures to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9. That involves scaling. And one of the things that people often don't realize is that, if you're taking a 6-figure business, say $100,000 a year, that's $10,000 a month, for instance. If you're doing $10,000 a month and you want to go to $1 million a year, that's 83,000 and change a month, right? You literally are taking your business and 8xing it over time. But if you want to go to $10 million, then that is literally 80 times what you've done before. And so scaling means you have to be able to add that multiple. How do I multiply this so it can continue to grow and be able to build in the right way to get the momentum that I need to be able to do that? One of the reasons why we're unable to do this, though, and I'm going to just kind of cut to the chase here. One of the reasons why we're not able to scale the way we want to scale is because we're asking the wrong questions. In particular, we're asking one of the wrong questions, and we're asking it from the wrong lens if we are asking. So people say, how do I scale? And the reason why you're asking the question the wrong way is because what you're doing is you're not asking it more specifically. I'll give you an example. So I remember looking at a house online. This is maybe less than a year ago, right? But, if you're an entrepreneur at some point, you may have, or anyone really, you've dreamed about having a dream home, what it would look like, things of that nature. If you're on Instagram, maybe you see these luxury homes or a house that you would like to be able to buy at some point. And so one of the questions that you can simply ask yourself is like, well, how much would it cost, right? How much would it cost for me to be able to buy this house? And so if you want to buy $1 million home, what does that look like? And one of the questions I started to ask myself, well, what would it take for me? What would I need to be able to be making to afford this home? And so when I started to reverse engineer it, I started looking at the price. I said, well, why not? Why can't I make this amount of money to be able to afford this, right? If you're thinking that typically 20 to 30% is the range that you're looking at for a mortgage. And so then if $1 million home, this home was, I think it was about $1.2 million. And so I asked myself, all right, so what would I need to be able to create in terms of revenue every month to be able to own this home? And so unless you ask yourself that question, it doesn't go from being real from a dream to being real. And for many of us, that's exactly what doesn't happen. We don't turn this wish or this idea into a dream. We don't turn this wish or a dream into something that's real and tangible because we have not broken it down into the steps. So reverse engineering that from where I want to be to what I am going to be able to accomplish. And so you want to be able to scale your business. You need to you need to be asking scaling questions. And scaling questions are very, very specific things. There are very specific parameters that are going to allow you to be successful. What are the things I need to be successful? What are the things that are going to keep me from being successful? In between that, those are your bookends. And now you start breaking it down, reverse engineering the process going from there. So if I want to be able to own a $1.2 million home, it's going to require certain things, right? I've got to be able to make a certain amount of income. I need to be able to maintain it. I need to be able to um, hire people to take care of it, the insurance, the taxes, all those different things. Those are costs that come in. Now reverse engineer that. What is my target? 20%. If my mortgage is going to be around $7,000 a month, then I need to be doing about 4 or 5 times that. So I need to be pulling in between $30,000 and $40,000 a month. Now, when you start thinking about that, all of a sudden it's like, well, okay, that's not inconceivable to be able to do that, to make $40,000 a month in revenue, in profit, to come into my home. Great. What are the things I need to be able to do that? And you realize that, for instance, if I just extrapolate over the course of a year, if I'm making $480,000, $500,000 a month, $500,000 a year will get me $1 million home, right? Now that's just an example. Now, if I want to take that and install it into my business, if I want to be able to build $1 million business, then I want to be able to do, I need to be doing $83,000 of revenue, which means I need to have a certain amount of customers at a certain price point, at a certain consistency. All those things start to be able to cascade down. Here's a real thing I want to get to, though. One of the problems that we have is that because we're not clear on what is required, we're actually short selling ourselves in terms of scaling our business. And that's the thing that stops us from being able to scale, because you're not asking the right questions, because you don't have the right perspective on what it is that you want. And you don't have the right perspective because you're not asking the right questions. I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, the My First Million podcast. And so it was Sam Peary and Sean Peary, I'm sorry. Sam Parr and Sean Peary were talking about how Sam was doing something similar. He's walking through this neighborhood in Brooklyn and he's looking at these $5 million homes. He starts reverse engineering and wondering what these people need to be able to make to be able to afford these homes, what he would need to be able to do, et cetera, et cetera. And so that exercise of doing that allows him to be able to start realizing, okay, this is what I need to be able to do. This is possible, et cetera. And I realized that for many of us, the businesses that we're building are too small because the questions we're asking are too small. On another episode, they were talking about this guy who simply was asking himself, the question, what do I need to do to make $10 million this year? Right. And so if we're asking ourselves that, it's not a goal, it's a different way of looking at a goal. What is required to do this thing? Right. And so now the type of question that you're asking are very different types of questions. You're existing in a very different type of space. One of the things you start to realize too is that when you start to level up your goals, right? I remember there was this young lady in our Facebook group, and I just happened to mention her, like, hey, what's your biggest challenge right now? And at the time we were asking people, what's your challenge with growing your $1 million business or whatever the case may be. For her, she's like, oh, I'm past that. We're thinking about how we can make 40 million this year. Right. It's a very different question. And I love that, because you want to exist in a space with people where they're building those $40 million businesses. And then you start asking different types of questions. What are the things that are required for us to be able to hit that target, to be able to grow to that level, to be able to accomplish those things? And so how can you be asking yourself bigger questions? How can you be asking yourself questions that lead to bigger outcomes? This is a mindset shift that many of us are not even aware of, right? But if you don't believe that it's possible for you, right? And actually, I'll break down 3 things that you need to be able to ask bigger questions and get bigger outcomes. And this is the foundation of being able to scale your business, right? Because these questions won't even exist for you if they don't exist in your realm, if you don't have the framework for being able to install them into your vocabulary. into your frame of mind and your way of acting on these things, right? It's very simple. There's 3 reasons why you're not able to scale your business because you're not asking the right questions. 1, you don't have the belief that it's possible. 2, you don't have the capability to accomplish it. And 3, because you have not installed the right mindset to be able to do that, right? And so mindset is sort of a capability, but being able to move around that is something that's really, really important. If you believe that something is possible, then the fact that it is not possible does not enter in. Studies show us that negative thinking is 4 to 7 times more powerful, 400 to 700% more powerful than not thinking at all. Acting on instinct is 400 to 700% more powerful than negative thinking, which means that simply the fact that you believe it now makes it 400 to 700% times more possible. And for most of us, we live or exist in the realm of reality, being realistic, and that constricts our ability to be able to expand what we're building. In this case, our business. Our capacity to be able to build our business fully rests on our ability to be able to envision and implement that vision. So what is the thing that you would like to be able to implement, right? Because once you are convinced that it's possible, or you're at least not convinced that it's not possible, you can start to bring in the capabilities that you have. Now, if you don't believe it's possible for you to do that, if you don't believe that you're capable of doing it, that is another limiting factor. But if you are able to have the belief, part of that, having that belief is understanding, oh, I can bring in other resources and elements and look at what is available to me, or what do I need to be able to create availability to, right? Access, resources, whatever the case may be. All these things are important to be able to pull these things in, right? So understanding all those things together is an important element of being able to be successful going forward. And being able to scale your business depends on being able to ask bigger questions. Bigger questions create bigger outcomes. So hopefully that's been helpful for you. If this has been, then drop a comment below. Let me know. If you're watching this in the replay, drop a hashtag replay and let me know what you discovered from this. What are the questions you could be asking yourself? What are the questions that you're afraid to ask? What is a question that has never even occurred to you to ask the question before until it was suggested? And remember, maybe this is a challenge to even think about, what questions have I not asked myself? This is why we're here. This is what we do all day. We help people to be able to ask bigger questions, to get bigger answers, to create bigger outcomes. And if you are someone that would like to be able to exercise that in your business, then I encourage you to reach out, drop us a comment, send me a message, let me know how we can support you. If you're watching this on YouTube, I would love for you to give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, share this with someone that you think it would be valuable for them as well. Okay. Got someone, you coming into the tail end. I know, let me read your question. I know that my questions are way too small. I'm gifted, just not super knowledgeable in regards to what is possible. All right. If you're also watching this on Facebook, make sure you enable StreamYard so that I can see your name. I love to be able to call you by name and answer your question. First of all, I would tell you that everyone is gifted. You are absolutely gifted. Just not super knowledgeable in terms of what's possible. The reason why we're not knowledgeable is because we have lacked the exposure to those who have already accomplished those things. What I will tell you, hey, Kat, thanks for your question. Thanks for your comment. I think what we get to do is, a lot of times we look at motivational speakers for this or motivational videos. They are motivational because they expose us to what is possible, right? However, what happens is, for many of us, it only feels possible for that person because they're the ones that did it. We treat monumental accomplishments as a random thing, as something that only the most superior people can do. And in reality, we all have that capacity within ourselves. What we have to do, or what we get to do, is to be able to unpack that capacity within ourselves And that happens when you have a team around you, when you have like-minded people, you're in that environment where it can grow, right? Think about where they have laboratories where they grow certain types of chemicals or bacteria, right? There's an environment for that to be able to grow. And you need to be able to expand or create an environment where the bacteria of your possibilities, your giftedness can expand, because your mind is the only limitation to what you'll be able to achieve. And so when you can construct a bigger question, as one of my coaches, Richard Pierce, would always say, the question is pregnant with the answer. And so the question begs the answer, which creates the outcome, the possibility. So if you're not super knowledgeable in regards to what is possible, then you need to be in a place where you're inviting yourself into a realm of greater questions, greater possibilities. If you don't have friends that are asking themselves, what can I do to make $10 million or $50 million or $100 million this year? Then you need to get into those spaces where those people are doing that, if that is something that you would like to be able to experience. If you are surrounded by people that are asking questions that are way too small, your questions will remain small. And maybe the biggest question you ask yourself is, why am I still here around these people that are asking these small questions? If you're not irritated by those questions yourself, you're not irritated by the conversations that are around you. And I mean this even in your business. You could be making $50,000 a month and think that that is great, right? And there's nothing wrong with making $50,000 a month. But until you are exposed to the level of thinking that people are making $100,000, $500,000, $100,000 a day, $1 million a day, $1 billion a month, you're not going to be able to expand your level of thinking. It needs to be shocking to you. You need to almost have a heart attack, that shock therapy, to be able to do that. But once you start asking those bigger questions, those possibilities arise, period. Keep asking yourself that question. Keep asking yourself bigger questions. That could simply be doubling the size, right? If you're only thinking, for instance, if I was only thinking about what it takes to make the rent every month, what if I just asked myself, what would it take for me to be able to make twice as much money every month, right? What if I was not just making the rent? What if I was not just making expenses of my business? What if I was not just hitting my target? What if I was able to blow through that target every year? What would be required? And don't be scared of the answer. Don't be scared of the fact that you don't know, right? Keep pushing, because it isn't in the pushing, it is in the questioning that you're able to find the answers. This is one of the problems that I have with the school system, the way that it is. We do not encourage children to ask questions. We do not grow up in an environment where we are encouraged to ask questions. The teachers are the experts, our parents are the experts, and there is no space for us to be able to expand on that. The question is not a threat, except to the person who is afraid of the answer. So if you want bigger outcomes, you can't be afraid to ask bigger questions, because it may feel like a threat to you. It's going to challenge your level of thinking, period. All right, I've got to run. Hopefully that's been helpful for you guys. Thanks for stopping through for a minute, second, or the entire conversation. I appreciate each and every one of you. Send me a message. Let me know how this has been affecting you, what you discovered as well. All right. And if you're getting here late, well, rewind and watch the replay. My name is Frederick Douglass Bussey, founder of Icon Status. Ever forward.